Good to have Bill Bender from the Sporting News back again, because I talked to him last week. And, Bill, I don't even think we could have imagined the amount of chaos. And everybody loves chaos in college football. It really is what drives the sport. It's even crazier now because of 12 teams instead of 4, because I don't think that half of those games would have got anywhere near the attention they got if there was still only a 4-team playoff that we were playing with. Let me start with the SEC, I suppose, because you gave me the whole breakdown last week about all the 2-loss teams and everything. Well, now I've got 3-loss teams, Bill, in Alabama and Ole Miss. Have we completely dismissed the 3-loss teams, or do we have scenarios where, specifically Alabama, they could sneak in the back door?
Yeah, I think they're the interesting one, because they always go to the front of the line no matter how many losses they have. They were the first 1-loss team, the first 2-loss team, and now here they are, the first 3-loss team. And it was a bad weekend, though. It was really bad for them, how they looked. It wasn't just the loss to Oklahoma. It was not being able to complete a pass, looking overwhelmed on the offensive side. I don't know that they're deserving, even if somebody does lose. Like, here's one of the complicated discussions we're going to have. What if, are you taking a 3-loss Alabama over the 2-loss loser of the ACC championship game? To me, like, SMU deserves an at-large bid more than Alabama at that point.
We were just having this discussion like 10 minutes ago here. Me and Joe were having the same talk. Like, SMU and Miami obviously have to, well, Miami definitely has to, because if they lose, Clemson's going to walk through the door. But if SMU takes care of business against Cal and they stay with 1 loss going into that game, and Miami and SMU play a great game, fun, competitive, both teams look deserving, I think they should both be in, Bill. And I know that people want SEC, and it's the big brands, and it's the big numbers, and all of those things. But I don't know if you can squeeze Indiana and the loser of that game, but maybe we can. Why not? We got 12 now, Bill. Can we squeeze both in?
Well, I think we will squeeze Indiana in, despite what happened in Columbus, which you and I talked about, where Indiana is not in Ohio State's zip code. We saw that on the field. But to compare them against Ohio State right now, Ohio State looks like one of the 2 best teams in the country. I'll get to the other one here in a minute. But Indiana still deserves to be in. By the end of the day, they were looking a lot better once Ole Miss lost at Florida. Texas A&M took their loss. And now the SEC, the masters of spin, there's a chance they may have to spin an SEC championship game with a 3-loss Texas A&M if they beat Texas, and a 3-loss Georgia if Georgia Tech somehow beats them. Can you imagine the things we would hear in the week leading up to that game in Atlanta if that happens? I don't think it will, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah, and really, you could spin it a little bit further, Bill, because what happens if Texas, and I don't think they could do this because I don't think they're that great of a team, but what if Texas A&M somehow pulled off both Texas and Georgia the following week, and then they have 3 losses, Georgia's got 3 losses, Alabama's got 3 losses, and Tennessee and Texas get to sit there and go, well, we only have 2, so I guess we're in, all right? They can just back up and go, we're in.
Right, and here's the thing, the SEC, one argument I buy from them, it is tough to win on the road. If you looked at the winning percentage of home teams in the SEC before this season, you knew that Jordan-Hare was a tough place to play. And you knew the Swamp was a tough place to play, and Oklahoma was a tough place to play, and now you jammed all these teams in the same conference. And one argument I will give them is their middle class is a lot better than the Big Ten's middle class. So like 5 through 12 from the Big Ten's pretty rough on a week-to-week basis. I know Minnesota ran with Penn State last week, but when you're trying to sell me Michigan or a barely 6-win USC against Notre Dame, those kind of things, I do think it's much tougher to win on the road at places like Florida and Oklahoma than it is at those places.
Is there any way that we can petition for Kansas to play in the Big 12 title game after the last 3 weeks? And can we get them in the game? Because they've been the most exciting team to watch the past 3 weeks, the way they've been knocking off all of these heavies. That is such a mess. You talk about the SEC being a mess. The Big 12 has Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, Iowa State, And really, if we got the charts and graphs out, Bill, they've even got like 3 or 4 other teams that in some real chaos scenarios can play in the title game. How do you even possibly see that shaking out?
I think Arizona State will win and reserve their spot. And then isn't it as simple as if Iowa State wins against Kansas State, they're in, I think.
I believe Arizona State and Iowa State have the path. Like they are the two that if they win, they're in. But winning in that conference has not been easy the past few weeks.
Or completing a game without the students getting on the field, right?
How does that keep going on, Bill? What are we doing out here? Can we? I mean, I thought the worst was Oklahoma. There was 28 seconds on the clock, and they all started running on the field. Wow.
That, not to get too off topic, but that and the throwing things on the field penalize the team immediately, and then it won't happen. If you give Arizona State a 15-yard penalty in that situation, and all of a sudden the Hail Marys from the 35-yard line, do you think it would ever happen again? Do you think the coaches or the administrators would ever let it happen again?
I actually saw an even better one, Bill, and I forget who said this over the weekend on social media, but 15 yards for every 5 minutes we're not off the field. So for every 5 minutes you're not off the field, another 15 yards closer. You get to go for that final play. I like that. Just keep moving them up. They'll get them off the field quick if they're going to keep moving them up.
Right. And now that they did survive, I do like Arizona State this weekend against Arizona. I think they take care of business, punch their ticket in. And then it's a toss-up to me. BYU will probably win that late game against Houston. So for Iowa State, do you beat Kansas State? It's a bad matchup. Kansas State can run the ball, and that's how you beat Iowa State. If you can establish the running game, Farmageddon, what a rivalry game name. That's a tight one. So I definitely think those back half, late night Big 12 games are going to offer some clarity. And I'm even second-guessing Oklahoma State, Colorado at this point. I'm wondering if the Cowboys, wouldn't that be something if that's the only Big 12 game they win?
I would not second-guess anything in that conference at this point. I think that if I'm Brett Yormark, I'd like to see Deion in Colorado somehow find their way into the game in Dallas the following week, just from a obviously viewing perspective and things like that, an attention perspective, but everything's on the table in the Big 12. Boise, I wanted to bring them up with you for this reason. They've kind of been playing with fire the past couple of weeks. Like, the Wyoming stinks. The Nevada game a couple of weeks before that. They're not just dominating and blowing everyone away. Is the door open here? Because now, correct me if I'm wrong, if UNLV wins Saturday night, they play UNLV again, right? Mountain West title game.
Correct.
Played a tough game with them the first time. UNLV could, if UNLV beats them, UNLV or maybe a Tulane sneaking in from the American.
I like Tulane. If Tulane played Boise tomorrow, I would probably pick Tulane. The way that they've been playing offense up in the 40s, having a really nice season. They play on Thursday night against Memphis. That ought to be a high-scoring game there, too. So they're just waiting for that to happen and open up the door. And Boise better be careful. I didn't like how they looked against Wyoming. I love Ashton Genty, obviously. Everybody does. They're going to have to be more than that. And if you look, they've kind of alternated taking care of business with playing with fire, like you said. So, and here's the other thing. I do think they'll be ranked as that fourth bye team in tomorrow's rankings. You're seeing that across a lot. But when it's all said and done, the Big 12 champion will end up hopping them. There's no question in my mind that if Arizona State or one of those teams wins, they'll get the 4 seed.
I agree, especially if Arizona State closes with all these wins and a Big 12 championship, they're going to win it. I got 20 seconds. Texas or Texas A&M Saturday night? Who do you got?
Give me the Longhorns by a touchdown. I know there's going to be a lot of fanfare, but I think they quietly go in and win.